videos or just colors being forced into your brain. And
welcome back to Hive Mind Unlimited.
And welcome to another episode of How Did It Age, our movie series where we rewatch older movies and see how they've aged with modern context. Today's movie is 2014's Interstellar.
This has got to be the newest one we've done, right?
I think so. 2014, last year was the 10-year anniversary of it. They put it back in IMAX theaters for people to go see because it's every dude's favorite movie ever.
IMAX is movies, but big.
And the chairs shake.
No, that's 4D.
Shoot. Okay.
I like those ones, though. I went to 4D IMAX for Challengers. They had like silicone Zendaya hands that came out and grabbed you. And they hit you in the head with tennis balls. They shot them from cannons up at the front. Pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome. By the way, for this series, if you want to know what movie we're watching each week, you can join our Patreon or become a member on the main channel, HIVEMIND. You get to know a week ahead of time so you can watch the movie, and these videos will make more sense for you.
Yeah, it's better that way. It's like a club.
And you get to support us.
Which helps because movies are getting so expensive to go to.
Yeah, we pay a lot to see these movies.
Stop the spinning. Give me a Dramamine.
Go ahead with the context, brother.
All right, this is Christopher Nolan's 10th installment of films in his filmography. It has a 73% on Rotten Tomatoes, an 8.7 on IMDb, a 4.4 on letterboxd, and our boy, Raj, gave it a 3.5, and in his review said, "Time is something we all fear. There's a ticking clock governing every aspect of existence, from the global to the familial. Every act by every character is an act of defiance, born of a wish to not go gently." Which, of course, is a reference to the Dylan Thomas poem, which is brought up throughout the movie by Dr. Brand and Dr. Man and Dr. Sand. And I'm just playing. There's no Dr. Sand.
Do not go gently into that night.
There you go.
Rage against the dying of the light.
I miss the rage.
This movie stars Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, Jessica Chastain, Bill Irwin, Ellen Burstyn, Michael Caine, Timothy Chalamet, John Lithgow, Casey Affleck, Topher Grace, and many, many, many more.
Yeah, including Christopher Nolan's own daughter.
Christopher Nolan's daughter's in this?
Yeah, she plays one of the little kids that's in the packed up truck, you know, as they're like at the very end, they're like driving by.
Oh, they're covered in sand and dust.
Yeah, one of the Sandy girls is Christopher Nolan's daughter, and it's because they were shooting so long in all over places, including Iceland, which was used as the place for Dr. Man's planet.
Oh, okay.
That was in Iceland. A lot of the sets are practical, and they went all over the world. He missed his family so much that he casted his own daughter so she could be on set for a couple weeks. And being such a family-centric movie, I think that's sweet. This movie was wildly successful. It made $759 million against an incredible $165 million budget. It went to insane lengths. It did break IMAX records of $20.5 million in the first weekend, which dethroned Hunger Games, Catching Fire.
Yeah.
Which we will be sure to do. Don't worry, Hunger Games fans. We're getting there.
I have never seen Hunger Games. So I'm saying like it'll be a first watch. Yeah.
There you go. Surprisingly, although it was incredibly successful, it only won one Academy Award for visual effects.
Yeah.
Kind of a bummer.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I didn't know.
All right.
This is kind of your section. I just didn't know if
it's all right.
I don't want to step on your toes.
One thing I think that's interesting about this movie is that the premise was conceived by producer Linda Obst and the theoretical physicist Kip Thorne, who collaborated on the film Contact together, but they were set up on a blind date by Carl Sagan himself, Mr. Science.
Wow.
Which is really cool. The two conceived a scenario based on Thorne's work about the most exotic events in the universe suddenly becoming accessible to humans. And originally this little like 8-page pitch that they had made attracted the interest of Steven Spielberg, who is a director in Hollywood.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah, I have too. I'm just making sure people might not have, you know.
No, yeah, totally.
It's Spielberg.
Yeah, Steven.
E.T. is a movie he did.
Okay.
Excelente. That's what I say about that movie. It began development in 2006, and then Spielberg goes to Paramount Pictures, does a whole switcheroo. But Jonathan Nolan was the one who was hired to write the screenplay for that original conception of it. Spielberg, whatever, DreamWorks, Paramount, all this crazy stuff happens. He drops out, and Jonathan Nolan's like,
Jonathan Nolan?
Yeah, Jennifer. Yeah, Jonathan Nolan's like,
Wow.
what about bro?
Yeah, you just can't write stuff. I mean, it's just a total spoof.
Jonathan Nolan's like, what about bro?
He totally stumbled over it. And so John and Christopher, they're related.
Yeah, that's their bro.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, they on bro. So Johnny got bro attached, and then bada bing, bada boom. Financing was really crazy. If you want to read into it, it was like two rival studios decided to work together and finance it under the understanding that like one studio got the rights to an upcoming South Park movie and another one got like, financial splits between Batman versus Superman. It was like all these weird like profit sharing things that got the studios to work together to finance this incredibly large movie.
One interesting detail of that deal that I read about too is that originally part of it was that Cartman was going to play Tars.
Yes.
Yeah, but they negotiated out of it because his screen test was not, it just didn't work with the film.
And he was super stubborn and set in his ways, and he wanted it to be called Farts.
Had you seen this movie before, Graydon?
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters. And a funny thing about seeing this in theaters, when I saw it, we got there a little bit late, like right as the movie itself was starting. And the only seats left in the packed theater were front row. And so the first time that I watched it,
It's about as close as you could get to space.
I remember thinking, no joke, I was like, the graphics or like the CGI in this movie is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
But I was looking at it like this, and I don't think that was how it was intended to be watched.
Yeah, there's not a ton of CGI in it either. Which is pretty
whatever
cool.
it was, like the shit in space looked like shit, but that's because I was like 2 feet from the screen and my neck hurt. And then I watched it 7 times since, I think, and I watched it twice yesterday.
Yeah, the black hole scenes, the like amount of fucking frames they packed into that to make like the other galaxies being sucked around it.
It was like 100 hours to render each one.
Each one.
Yeah.
Each fucking
I read
one.
that last night because I was looking into the whole thing where they say this movie predicted what black holes look like.
Yeah.
It was like a bunch of scientists worked on this movie and had a general idea based on data of what a black hole could look like, actually look like, and not like how it's been depicted in old space movies where it's like a swirl.
Yeah.
They were like, I think it could look like this. And then 10 years later, the first picture of a black hole looked somewhat similar. I feel like people give it maybe a little more credit than it deserves.
Well,
because
the picture's also shit. It looks like it was taken on an Android.
Yeah, I think the astronaut did have an Android, the one who's up there. Yeah. And his hand was shaky, so.
Shout out Albert Einstein for the math. You know what I mean?
Totally,
they just basically crunched those numbers and were like, oh yeah, it could look like this.
He was a producer on the film as well.
That dude was hella smart.
Different Albert Einstein, though.
Yeah, Albert Brooks.
Some more context just about the plot of this movie. If you have not seen it, I don't know why you're watching this video. Or
we will spoil it.
If you haven't seen it in a long time. This movie is about Cooper. He's a farmer and former NASA pilot and science genius who loves his daughter and hates his son. The setting for this movie is a near-future scenario where food has grown scarce, the climate has become less forgiving to humans, and they've removed the moon landing from textbooks. NASA is a secret organization now because researching space exploration while the world is struggling to eat is an unsavory idea. And I think it's funny that Coop names his daughter Murphy after Murphy's Law, but before that, he names his son Tom.
Yeah, after Tom's Law. No, actually after Tom from Facebook, who in the near future has become a awesome politician.
That makes a lot of sense because this takes place in 2067, and so there's still time for Tom to come back and make headlines.
Absolutely. Remember me, guys? Zuckerberg got all the shine.
Yeah, remember me? It's your friend at the desk.
Oh, Tom from MySpace. That's my apologies.
And this is Tom from Space. Timothy Chalamet is Tom from Space Dad.
It's really Casey Affleck the majority of the way.
They did a great job with young Murph becoming Jessica Chastain. That totally makes sense. Looks like, she grew up, she could look like Jessica Chastain. Timothy Chalamet turning into Casey Affleck is worst case scenario for Timmy.
I mean, if all you did was eat corn and lived outside in Sand World, there's a pretty good chance.
No, totally.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Murph grows up and is a nice little science lady who grows up in lab.
Yeah, that's
Tom
true.
has to exist in Sand World and eat fritter.
Now, like I said, I watched this movie twice yesterday. Both times, I did not take notes. I don't have a lot of lines. My overall sentiment for this movie is just that Cooper is so rootsy and worldly, which really helps sell the space elements to hardworking Americans like ourselves.
Yeah.
It like works for me because I don't necessarily believe
Right.
that Matthew McConaughey knows all this science and math shit because
Yeah.
of the way he delivers the lines. But the way he delivers them is so entertaining
Yep.
and so like relatable in a way that
Yeah.
it does work as like a bridge to the viewer the whole time.
Yeah.
And it also makes for some laugh out loud moments.
Oh,
My
totally.
favorite line in this entire movie is when they're like, Coop, did you notice anything about the station here, the NASA station? And he goes into the other room, tilts his head. And
Great
goes,
camera turn.
This entire facility is a centrifuge, which is, I looked it up. It
Yeah.
like means that they're using like a centrifugal shape or whatever to have gravity act like it does in space.
Yep.
And it like is slowly rotating, like the entire room is slowly rotating or something. I don't get it, but like it's hilarious to me that Matthew McConaughey
IDs it.
yeah, and then they're like, this is our guy.
Yeah.
Like he knows that this is a centrifuge.
Yeah, James Cameron has a great quote that's like, when making something science fiction that's so outlandish, the way to get people to believe it is make it about something very familiar and like small.
Mhm.
And this being like a movie about family and love and all these very human, like identifiable things that exist inside of shooting astronauts through a wormhole that was set there by future humans and then into a black, like all those insanely lofty kind of like stuffy science concepts are grounded by Rootsy Cooper, Anne Hathaway doing the mission because she's in love, essentially. Michael Caine being like revealed as this selfish dude who's just kind of lying to everyone to send them into space and letting the people on Earth die. It's great. I love how this movie's grounded, and I think the pacing really helps with a lot of these lines. This movie like really moves in a great way for 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah, and in a way, it's like Christopher Nolan is choreographing a father-daughter dance.
Yep. Yeah, it's beautiful father-daughter dance.
It's the choreography.
I love in the early scene where they're chasing down the Indian surveillance drone.
Oh, yeah.
They switch seats. Murph's shooting it with some sort of radar gun. Cooper's got a crazy laptop open. Tom has to slam on the brakes before the truck falls off a ridge. Cooper goes, well, I guess that answers the old if I asked you to drive off a cliff scenario. And then they get out and Murph's like, we didn't get it. And it's like, just kidding. It comes back over. That's like an initial great Matt McConaughey line. My favorite like little philosophical line is when he's sitting out on the porch with his father-in-law and he's ranting. He's like, you never meant to belong on this earth, Coop. And he goes, we used to look up at the sky and wonder about our place in the stars. Now we just look down at our place in the dirt. And you're like, yeah, fuck it. Go to space, man. That's where you belong. It's great. And yeah, his father-in-law, the grandfather of the family, is like, every day, everybody used to invent something. It was like, every day was Christmas. And 6 billion people. Can you imagine that? I do love like the subtle hints to like the future state we're in. And that the future state is like, there's not like extreme exposition about what really has happened besides running out of food. And that these like future people are just like kind of like hardy. Christopher Nolan was very inspired by Ken Burns' Dust Bowl documentary. And obviously there's a ton of elements with that, with the dust and the blight of crops and stuff. But it's a cool near future where it's just farmers.
Well, yeah, they kind of essentially like all of these problems with the climate and, natural disasters, whatever those are, have caused a world where people stopped looking outward and had to focus just on what was going on here to try to fix problems like that. So they literally they say that the army doesn't exist anymore. There's no military. There's no Marines. He says later to TARS, all that stuff. And then also it's the last harvest ever for okra is happening that year. There's a bunch of stuff that doesn't exist anymore. All of this, by the way, in 2067, which is just, it is funny to me. They made it in 2014.
Yeah.
I'm like, saying 53 years in the future, all of that's going to happen is a lofty idea.
Yeah,
I
sure.
feel like they could have made just been 21, 22, because then everybody would be like, I don't even know.
Yeah, maybe he was trying to step on the pedal for the change of climate change.
I will say it does have subtle commentary on information and how it's distributed, education system, things like that. They fully replaced all the textbooks now for the approved ones that say that they never went to the moon and that we were just trying to bankrupt Russia and all that stuff.
Love the slip in of war is a luxury. And I love when Coop goes to the parent teacher conference. That has a couple of my favorite lines in it too. They're telling him that their son Tom cannot go to the university because they only accept so few. And he goes, I pay my taxes. Where does that go? There's no more military. And there's a subtle hint there where it's like all your taxes are going to the underground NASA that you don't know about.
Right.
Because like you don't know where else it's going, but they're going to build the centrifuge.
Yeah.
They're going to defeat gravity, actually. They tell him Tom's score is too low to get into college or become an engineer and that they don't need any more of these people. And he goes, what's your waistline? 32, about a 33 inseam. Where are you going with this, Coop? He's like, tell me it takes 2 numbers to measure your ass, but only 1 to tell my son what he's going to be.
Yeah.
Awesome setup there.
Such a good line.
Great setup. He does kind of the same thing with the girl, too. It's one of my old textbooks. She loves these. As he's flipping through it, he's just too quippy for his own good. Loves it. Another scene I love, too, is when they finally get to NASA and he's walking around with Professor Brand, not Anne Hathaway. Michael Caine, rather. He kind of agrees to go on the trip, I guess. Basically, Michael Caine threatens him with the life of his own daughter. And then he goes, find us a new home. And by the time you get home, I'll have solved the problem of gravity. And then it's like, that is just like, there's so many like really severe lines in this that are like, could be seen as really melodramatic, but like inside of this, I don't know, just like credit to Christopher Nolan for making it believable, because I feel like if it's corny, one more tick to the right, it's like, Jesus, this is the dumbest shit of all time.
I feel like the movie functions on its own agreement of 90% honesty.
Yeah.
Like it has that line with, you know, like TARS is set to 90% honesty. And then they say, why 90%? And then he's like, 100% honesty can be seen as a bit much or whatever. And then he's like, all right, 90% it is. It like the movie 90% makes sense and 10% does not make sense. And the movie also is 90% not corny.
Yeah.
And the 10% corny you kind of forgive.
Totally.
Like my least favorite line in the entire movie is when Coop's talking to Case about docking on the space station. And Case says, endurance rotation is 67, 68 RPM. Cooper says, Case, get ready to match our spin with retro thrusters. Case says, it's not possible. And Cooper just goes, no, it's necessary. It's like the most action movie line in the entire movie. It doesn't work for me, but the rest of the movie works so well, I like just kind of laugh it off.
Yeah. Like I mentioned in Roger Ebert's review, the Dylan Thomas poem is really badass and works for me. And I love how that's repeated throughout. Like Dr. Brand is always getting the messages from her father. He always ends his messages with that. Even Matt Damon's character, Dr. Mann, says that as he's like trying to kill Matthew McConaughey on the planet. It just like resurfaces in all the right spots. It's a badass poem. Most people are familiar with that anyway, loosely. Yeah. And it just really works like with the theme of lifespan and space exploration. It's really, really good. And Michael Caine reading you poetry is just like, wow, very beautiful. I love once we're up in space, they're talking about navigating, you know, to get around to a couple of the potentially habitable planets. Matthew McConaughey is just like, well, I could swing us around that neutron star, propel us, save on fuel. I just love like I'll loop us around the neutron, swing me around that. And it just makes it feel like, it's almost like he's driving on the highway.
He's driving a truck.
Yeah, it makes it seem so simple.
No, totally.
We'll just pull the e-brake and I'll fucking drift. And then we won't have to engage the reverse thrusters.
Right.
Also, after they leave the water planet where they have wasted decades of time and it's like this heartbreaking moment, Cooper is like struggling to cope with this. He's like, is there maybe some kind of way we can get into a wormhole or a black hole and slip into it and gain some years back?
Yeah.
And then Anne Hathaway has she has a bunch of good monologues in this, but she does like, time's flexible, we can do this.
You can't go backwards.
Yeah, but you just can't go backwards.
Gravity's the only thing that can travel through time.
Which, is great. I love that. Is there some kind of wormhole or black hole? He's like this great pilot, but he's just like, fuck it, let's try it. We can get some years back.
Speaking of Brand, I feel like she adds a lot of like heart into the movie. Yeah. And I absolutely love the discussion that she has with Cooper, where she's like, maybe we spent too long trying to figure all this out with theory. And then Cooper's like, you're a scientist, Brand. And then she says, so listen to me when I say that love is not something we invented. It's observable, powerful. It has to mean something. Cooper says, love has meaning. Yes, social utility, social bonding, child rearing. And she says, we love people who've died. Where's the social utility in that? And then he says, none. And I love that because it is like, you can see him kind of like, he's defeated in that moment. I don't think he fully believes he's defeated, but he knows he doesn't have a response to that. And then she is like, I am traveling across the universe to see somebody I haven't seen in a decade.
Yeah.
With the hope that maybe they're alive and they're probably dead.
Yeah.
Love has to mean something because there's no motivation like it. And then I love that the movie does like, not that it's like it needs to be more than logical or something, but I think that the movie becomes more digestible that way.
Yeah.
Where like her love for Wolf Edmonds, who I always imagine is played by Jeremy Renner. I don't know why they don't show him at all.
I imagine more of an Anderson Cooper type.
Anderson Cooper? Like from CNN?
Yeah. Type.
The gay guy.
Anderson Cooper type. I don't mean gay type. I
Gay
mean Silver
newscast.
Fox newscaster.
Like a
doctor.
Silver Fox gay newscaster.
God, that'd be good. In the future, who knows?
That's true.
Maybe gay guys can love women.
Yeah, she did have short hair.
Yeah. That's because zero gravity. Long hair's a mess.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, well, it's not as much of a mess. It just would have been a lot with the
See,
CGI.
I thought it was because she was filming Les Mis.
Yeah.
And then the other like love that is illustrated as kind of parallel to that is just Murph and Coop.
Yeah, absolutely. Him and his family. Wanting to see his family.
No, him and Murph.
He loves Tom.
No, he does not.
Yes, he does.
Here's my, like, I literally looked this up to see if anybody else had this theory, but he repeats a line. He says at the beginning of the movie, "You better slow down, Turbo." He says that to Tom when Tom's driving or whatever. He repeats that line to Case later in the movie. And somebody was like, this points to the overarching theme that Cooper does not care about his son. And in fact, cares as much about the robots that work on that are expendable to him.
He cries when he sees his grandchild get born. He sees all the messages from Tom. He's like proud when he shows him a picture of the girl that he's going to marry. Like,
I don't know.
Hugs him, gives him his truck.
Totally. But that's not enough from a dad for me to
stands up for him in the parent teacher conference, I love his conversation with him at the baseball game.
Yeah, but it's totally not like enough from a dad to prove that your dad loves you. That's not like.
It's more than my dad's ever done for me. Gave me a truck. Said whatever you want to do, you're going to be great at it as long as you want to do it.
Yeah, it just feels, I don't know. He definitely has more of a soft spot for Murph.
Well, for sure, yeah.
He doesn't go see Casey Affleck before he dies.
Casey Affleck's dead.
It's just Murph now.
Just Murph. Yeah. Well, and she went into cryosleep to even be like, why didn't they invent anti-aging? Why she got to die? You know what I mean? They figured out gravity.
Anti-Asian?
Yeah.
There's a lot of Asian hate now. I don't think they didn't invent it because it's already existed.
It's just like, why is Murph dead? If they defeated gravity, you think they could figure out something to like keep people around for maybe 50 more years? Whatever. I don't know. That is one thing I'm not going to do in this video. I'm not going to start poking holes in this. I like movies and I like other movies that have nothing to do with reality. And I don't think this movie ever set out to be like, this is a science class of a movie. I think it's like real enough to bring some people in and make it just suspend people's disbeliefs. I'm over everyone on Reddit who's like, here's the 25 plot holes I found in Interstellar. Whatever. Don't care. Some other lines.
Cool off, Slick.
Yeah, cool off, Slick.
Slick.
Couple more little one-off lines that I have that I really like. When Murph is yelling at Tom about trying to get a doctor there or someone to look at their son's cough, who goes, what a terrible line delivery. The kid coughs and goes, it's the dust. Like every time I've seen this movie, I'm like, could have done. Christopher Nolan's the king of 10,000 takes.
Yeah.
Try it again. The kid like, and he goes, it's the dust. No shit.
Listen, it's the dust.
No shit, it's the dust, you little fucking idiot. Murph's yelling at Tom and goes, you gonna sit around and wait for your next kid to die? Which is, she doesn't say it like that, but that's how I say it.
Yeah,
that's great.
I do love that because I was watching it with somebody who had never seen it last night, and she was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's all hard.
She pops off.
Yeah, and I remember the first couple of times I saw it, I was like, oh yeah, there's only one left. We saw the baby, and now there's one. It's like,
yeah, Jesse.
Jesse went, and then I love when Matt Damon wakes up, Dr. Mann, and is sitting there after bawling his eyes out in McConn's arms, which is, he's in the little warm-up foil jacket. He says, pray you never know how good it is to see another person's face, which kind of sums up his whole desperation. Like, he really just got so lonely.
Yeah.
That is the only reason he kept sending the thumbs up, is just so he could see someone again.
Yeah.
Kill them, essentially.
Yeah.
It is very dark, and it's very, very intense that Dr. Mann is the end of humanity. And in the book that Kip Thorne and wife wrote, his name is literally Hugh.
Hugh Man. That sucks. I'm glad they kept that part out.
Yeah, they just call him Dr. Man the whole time.
What's up, Dr. Man?
Oh,
I'm here to get a checkup, Dr. Man.
yeah. Yeah.
Can you check out these things, Dr.
Yeah.
Man? That's a different movie.
Oh.
Oh, wow, I didn't even see that. I thought you just got horned up.
No, I wish. There we go. Hold on tight, buddy. I got a lot more talking to do.
Now, speaking of that, when Dr. Man and Matthew McConaughey get in the fight and all that, and then it cuts to Romilly just going, this data makes no sense.
Yes, I love that line.
I burst out laughing every time. There's something so funny about that line.
Yeah, I thought the exact same thing too. Get out of there, Rom! And then he blows up, and then Tars does the famous fucking sprint run thing. It's like a freaky fucking horse. Yeah, Nolan, a couple other like just intentional things I wanted to mention before we get all the way into scenes is one about the robots. Very intentionally made them look like anthropomorphic,
non-human, yeah,
anthropomorphic,
right?
That intent and just like very, I don't know, geometrical to make us like not feel about them. But then, despite being played by Bill Irwin, who's like a famous actor and master puppeteer, and he does add a lot to those characters. Like you really do get a bit of a relationship out of them. It's just, I don't know, the intention to not make it like a C-3PO ass robot in the future, I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, especially because they are funny.
Yeah.
And that's like that's our human instinct is to like look at things that look like humans and feel like they have souls or something. And it like does on purpose let you laugh at the things that are being said.
Right.
Without starting to care.
Yeah.
And even like they have a cheekiness about their own existence.
Yep.
Like they are very like you got to leave stuff behind. And then he's like, before you get all teary eyed, remember that I have to do everything you tell me to do. It's good. They do a good job with that. And Tars is just a very funny looking thing.
Yeah. And the last note I have for Nolan's intent is that all those astronauts that went on the Lazarus missions to look at the potential habitable planets through the wormhole had like no family, weren't married or whatever. But even in those cases, the loneliest, like they still experience loneliness on an extreme level to the point where they'd be willing to bring people to an uninhabitable frozen cloud land just to see someone else. And in the original Soviet missions that they sent dogs into space, they made sure that they were stray dogs so they didn't have attachment to people. And I was like, that's cool.
Oh, okay. So he's referencing.
Yeah, he's referencing in that because they like send the strays in on the Lazarus mission essentially. So they have no attachments to anyone else. But as we like, you know, ethically, we come back or look back at those Soviet missions and we're like, well, we fucking love dogs no matter what. Like that sucks. And those dogs still experienced feelings. It's like, yeah, just like Dr. Man.
Yeah. And then 10 years later, Professor Brand sends his own daughter, a father, and like 2 other guys. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, they're never coming back. I'm actually going to trick them into going.
Yeah.
And I legitimately am on the side also, like while watching, that he is not evil. Like, to me, Professor Brand, like when Dr. Man says that thing where he's like, he had made the ultimate sacrifice, like his own humanity. Like nobody's going to think he's a good person. He's going to die with a lie, a horrible lie. And he thinks that that is the best thing that he can do for humanity.
Yeah. No, I kind of agree with that too, but it's also a big time lie.
Yeah. I mean, hey, one small lie to Dr. Man, one giant leap for mankind.
For Cooper's behind.
Wow, I should change that to my letterboxd review.
Okay.
Fuck, that's good.
That's good, man. Let's get into scenes, okay? We got a lot to talk about in here.
Now, despite some of the current discourse on Twitter and Reddit about this movie is praised for being scientifically accurate. There are a lot of scientists who worked on it. Christopher Nolan was like, we want to get everything as right as we can. It predicted what black holes look like. There are some other things that it kind of like toys with that are like more theoretical. Despite all of that, in many ways, it makes very little sense.
Yeah.
But on this watch, the 2 watches that I did yesterday, I've come to the conclusion that it does not matter because it doesn't make the movie less fun to watch.
Right.
And like, I like some of the risks that it takes in not making sense to make it a better movie.
Right.
It's awesome.
Yeah. It's like, I think Nolan opened himself up to that by accepting this premise, which was done by a theoretical physicist. And then there is praise that comes from the scientific community about it. Even our favorite guy, Neil deGrasse Tyson, is like, we don't know what's in a black hole, so like maybe, you know what I mean, like leaves the window of possibility open. But if you get a certain amount of praise, you're gonna allow every other like armchair academic who like got a fucking bullshit science degree. You're an armchair, not an armchair academic. It's because people love to sit on your face.
Movie makes no goddamn sense.
Yeah, you're gonna just open yourself up to criticism from people that are like, I don't know, don't enjoy movies. It's like if you wanted to watch.
That's not what wormholes look like.
Yeah. Oh, here's a scientifically accurate movie. They get pulled apart and die in the black hole.
Yep. Yeah, they would be pulled apart like atom by atom.
Yeah.
They'd be completely eviscerated in less than a second.
Or here's another fun scientific accurate movie. The robots do everything for them on Earth, and they make the corn GMO, and so it can never experience blight, and they make like a solar shield that guards them from the sun, and then they just kind of like tough it out, and the robots do everything for them because they've obviously got advanced AI, some Boston Robotics kind of thing going on. Why aren't those things just fixing the problems?
Shout out, by the way.
Yeah, Boston. Hell yeah. But whatever. I like the movie. I think the movie's dope. That's the approach we're both taking on it.
Absolutely. Before we go into specific scenes, I do want to mention another piece of context that I think is awesome is that Timothée Chalamet saw this movie 12 times in IMAX when it came out.
That's dope.
His own movie.
He's obsessed with himself, dude. That guy's a little fucking narcissist.
If he's obsessed with himself, he should watch a different movie. He's barely in this. But he, what was that laugh? That was rude, I think. It's fine. I don't care. It wasn't like that. It was that funny. He says it's his favorite movie that he's ever been in.
That would make sense. It's my favorite one he's ever been into. I want to retread the parent-teacher conference real quick because that scene is just so full of quip. It's kind of Matthew McConaughey pitching a million miles an hour. The lady teacher's talking shit about NASA.
Miss Hanley, she's single.
Miss Teacher. Oh, let Coop eat your box, Miss Hanley. She's talking shit about science, and he goes, oh, yeah? You don't like science? One of those useless machines they made was an MRI. And if they still had one, they could have found the cancer in my wife's head. And it's like, oh, Jesus.
He doesn't say it like that.
Well, he doesn't. I'm not good at his voice.
No,
yeah.
He also says the cyst in my wife's brain, not the cancer in my wife's head.
Well, yeah, the rotten tumor in my old lady's noggin. And then he spits chaw on the floor, fucking grabs her.
He says, fuck you, lady.
Fuck you, lady. Want to go on a date? I have some other scenes that I liked that illustrate Cooper, despite him really loving Murph, being a really bad dad.
Okay.
When they finally figure out that the gravity ghost that is Cooper, that haunts his daughter's bedroom, is coordinates or leaving coordinates for NASA, and they go, and Cooper finds her under. First he says, you can't come with me, and then he goes to leave, and she's hiding under the blankets in the truck. He's like, all right.
He goes, that's my girl.
Yeah. Then he takes her on like a mystery expedition to unknown coordinates. That's like a bad dad move.
Yeah, then he's like, end of the road. And then she's like, you brought the bolt cutters, didn't you? And he's like, haha, yes.
Yeah, dabs her up and he's like, grab a beer. I'll be right back.
Yeah, for sure. I also think it is funny that he doesn't believe in the ghost shit at all. But once he gets coordinates from the wall, he's like, well, let's see.
It's a gravitational anomaly.
Oh, yeah, no, I get it. Because, it stopped his turbines from working and shit like that.
And then when he does say goodbye to her, it's a pretty bad dad move, too, because literally with a fucking smile on his face, he gives her a watch and is like, wouldn't that be pretty funny if when I got back, we were the same age? Yeah. I'm like, that's not going to cheer up a kid. Hey, I know you're 9 right now, but when I get back, you could be 46.
He's essentially like, hey, I'm going to see you in 25, 30 years.
Yeah. And he's smiling.
He's like, isn't that cool? I'm going to be gone for a quarter of a century. Is that cool with you?
Pretty dope, right? It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, she starts crying more instantly, which is also kudos to the actor.
Yeah.
The young actor, she is so good.
Oh, she's phenomenal.
But like, you literally see her eyes fill up with more tears as he says that, and he goes, oh, I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And then he's like, don't make me leave like this.
Yeah.
Don't make me leave like this.
And then that segues into one of my favorite scenes. There's probably like 3 scenes that are kind of tied for my favorite little moments in this. But that taking off down the driveway in the truck when you can hear the NASA countdown, You already know he's in the launch. He's going. He does his one like droopy eyed, tearing up.
Yeah, he looks all fucked up.
But
driving.
he checks under the blankets again there
Love
to
that.
see if she snuck back in. I fucking love that. And then just that lonely drive. That scene would be like so barren and like, yes, sad, but then with that countdown, you're also like kind of excited. And then it's just that hard cut to the fucking launch. You get no more Michael Caine NASA exposition of like,
No
here's how you
preparation,
fly it.
yeah.
And have you never done one like this? Which is also funny. It's like, how long has Coop been out of flying business? He just can hop in any ship. He also does that in the future when he gets back. He gets in another ship, knows how to fly that fucker too.
Yeah.
It's awesome. But yeah, that like down the driveway into initial launch sequence is just that's quintessential movie shit right there.
Absolutely. I have a hot take.
All right, hear me out.
Hear you.
All right, I'll hear me out.
Water planet, better than man's planet, in my opinion, scene-wise.
Way more devastating, for sure.
It is, no joke, one of the coolest scenes in any movie I've ever seen visually.
Because it's surfing.
Well,
You
yeah.
like the surfing.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
surf with a spaceship, the huge waves, the fact that they think it's mountains.
Yeah.
The idea of, I'm not trying to poke holes in it. This
Yeah.
is just a funny observation. My first observation I think is funny is like they land on the planet and they're like, fuck, it's just water. And I'm like, if you landed in like the middle of the Pacific Ocean,
Right.
you'd be like, fuck, it's just water
Yeah.
here. There's nothing else
Yeah.
here.
And there's no mapping out of it. It's just like the landing there too.
Oh, yeah.
Hit it!
yeah. But then I just, there's something so crazy about just how all of that works, where then these huge waves come and then
Yeah.
they just like, they have to get out. And then it's so unbelievably devastating when they leave it. It's just like 23 years have passed.
Yeah, and I love the bookend on that scene of you just see an astronaut face down and you don't know whether that's Doyle or it's Miller because technically they've only landed just moments after Miller's died. Awesome scene.
Uh-huh.
Also, once they found out it was crashed too, it was a fun plot hole. Just send TARS to pick up the shit. Like, why is anybody outside at that point? Like, once you realize the beacon's broke, it's probably like, all right, back in the ship, TARS, you crazy fucking Rubik's Cube, go gather the shit and let's go. Instead
Yeah.
of like, Doyle's like splashing, just like blowing bubbles in the water. Dr. Brand gets stuck under the thing, which I don't really understand. She tries to grab the thing, and the next thing you know, she's like, oh, you're gonna have to go without me. I'm like, how'd you get under it? And it's in water. Like, how stuck can you really be in it?
Also, these waves are so huge for how shallow.
Well, that's why it's shallow.
Oh, why?
Because the waves are so big. That's like the majority of the water that gets pulled up gravitationally, and that's why everything's at like 3 feet, because that's all the water is constantly this cycling tsunami.
Oh, yeah, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
One thing that also, I said we weren't going to do the plot holes thing.
Okay.
Okay,
We kind of have to.
where is where is the spaceship that Romilly is in, where this has zero effect on his aging at all?
Well, they explain that before they go down,
Yeah.
that there's like an outside orbit that is outside of Gargantuan's like pole.
Okay.
That won't age him fast, or time will stay the same, and that's why McConaughey comes up with that plan: is we'll park the ship here and send down the rover in, out, and we're back. Boom.
Okay,
And then
that makes more
And Rom
sense.
is like, that'll give me time to study gravity and send
Yeah.
the things back. And then when they come back, Rom is just like a shattered man. He's like, I didn't think you were coming back.
Yeah, and they're like, why didn't you sleep? And he's like, I had my phases, but I began to think you guys were never coming back. Didn't want to waste my entire life.
Yeah, didn't want to dream my life away.
Dream my life away. Yeah.
Speaking of Rom, him explaining a wormhole to Matthew McConaughey might be my least favorite moment in the whole film. In such a scientific movie, that feels like the dumbest, like Matthew McConaughey, genius pilot. Obviously, maybe he doesn't understand wormhole, but that's like looking at the audience and being like, well, let me tell you how it works. And like doing the paper explanation that we've seen in other movies, it's just kind of like, maybe that could have been done in a more graceful way or something. Or like, I don't know. It's just, I hate that. No. You're thinking about it as two-dimensional. It's not flat. It's spherical. And here's why. And I'm like, shut up.
And he literally is like, and what's a 3D circle? And
Yeah.
he's like, stratosphere.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, you're not like
you're not teaching him that.
Everybody knows.
Yes.
You know,
Blasting through the wormhole is awesome.
dashing through the snow
In a wormhole open space.
Yeah, I like it. Okay.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
You get subtle nods there, but Nolan really goes all out when they go through the black hole in the 2001 references. Like the colors and how like McConaughey starts to fade. That's the climax of 2001 is very much the same, but you get like a glimpse of that.
And if you play 2001 The Chronic backwards
Over top
of that scene,
Dr. Dre.
it makes like no sense at all.
Yeah, Dr. Dre.
Like, all fucked
Dr.
up.
Dre says like pussy and like the N-word a bunch.
Yeah, but backwards.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
It's fucked up.
It sounds super fucked up.
Yeah.
It didn't do anything for me personally. Yeah.
Totally. I love the handshake when they're going through the wormhole.
Oh yeah.
I love that.
Oh, where it's like, and their hands like stretch out like.
And they're like, don't touch it. And Dr. Brand, being a woman of science, is like, reaches right in this mysterious. She also kind of has this unwavering faith in these aliens, and no one comes up with the fact that it could be them in the future. Granted, hard thing to come up with. I do love then when Matt is blasted back through the Tetra cube or whatever, that you get to see him have that interaction with her, and they piece that together, which is dope.
My least favorite scene in the whole movie is the museum. They turn the house into the museum on the space station, and there's just screens everywhere of like the documentary and Murph talking about all the shit. Just makes her feel like a narcissist. It feels like out of character.
She beat gravity, though. I feel like she didn't come up with that idea to do it. Like they name it Cooper Station. And
Totally.
Coop thinks it's him at first.
Uh-huh.
And then you learn it's like she's like saved humanity.
Yeah, it just kind of, that whole space station just kind of feels like a gas station at night where there's like a bunch of screens like playing audio out loud.
Or like a shitty roadside attraction. Or like one of those, like you're in a state park and then you go into like the park office and they're like, you might see a red panda here.
Yeah.
They've been native to this land for thousands of years. And I'm like, why the fuck am I in here?
Yeah, I'm like, nobody stands in front of those things. It feels like noise, and it's very, very like self-serving. I get it. She beat gravity. She saved the world.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, not to take credit away from women here. Like Murph's very smart. McConaughey was just like feeding her stuff through the wormhole shit or whatever, through the 5D space. And then somebody else in the future was feeding Matthew McConaughey that shit. So I'm like,
Well, yeah, but no one believed them. Like no one believed her that was the case. She says that in her deathbed.
no, I know. But then they just like,
So they think it was just her.
right. So it's just everywhere. It's all like, oh, the best, smartest. I don't know. It just is like also
Yeah.
just dumb. I mean, it's not my least favorite scene because I do love that they play baseball and then the it's like a cylinder and they like hit a home run into somebody's house, but it's like above them and they all start cheering, like shit like that. I'm like, never thought that would happen in this movie.
Right.
There's no reason for it to, and it's awesome. But then there's just screens everywhere playing a documentary. It's weird.
That is totally Nolan's like nod to Ken Burns, because the people besides I forget the lady who plays old Murph, sorry, but the other people that are talking in that are actual people from the Dust Bowl documentary. They're not even like made for this movie. They're just like, there was so much dust we used to put our plates upside down. Those are just like, he just took those from a Ken Burns documentary, which is pretty dope.
Yeah, I think the movie would be fine without all of that.
Yeah.
Like it does that at the beginning too.
Yeah.
And I will say, if you watch this on Netflix and you're like watching it with somebody who's never seen it before, as much as you want to have captions on, you shouldn't, because the movie opens with old Murph. And then it says what it says, and it shows that it's like, it like spoils the movie. It also like calls, every time Murph speaks at the beginning, it says young Murph. And I was watching it again with somebody who had never seen it, and she literally was like, young Murph makes me think we're gonna get to see old Murph. Like said that, and I was like, yeah,
that sucks.
That's kind of
Coop watching the 23 years of messages and crying. That's kind of our like tour de force Matthew McConaughey moment in this movie. If you've never seen this movie, you probably know what scene I'm talking about. It's Matthew McConaughey in a space shuttle going,
yeah, he's like,
and it's like an ugly, disgusting, not masculine cry at all. But it's beautiful. It was done in one take. Christopher Nolan doesn't like doing things in one take. Matthew McConaughey geared up for that scene. He had never watched any of those messages, and they actually show him, 25 minutes of fake messages, and he really just broke down like that. And they said, well, we're never going to get that out of him again, so move it along. which is pretty dope. Timmy got one scene in that too, and I think didn't he think there was going to be like more in there?
I don't know.
I think he shot like several other messages, and then they were like, "Up, we're gonna have you show your high school girlfriend," and then Casey Affleck time. And then when Murph does eventually send a message on the birthday that is the same as when he left, she goes, "What's up, you son of a bitch?" Which I love that. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Jessica Chastain is great in this movie.
Last scene I guess I'll mention is when Michael Caine dies. This is one of the scenes in the movies that really toes the line of like melodramatic or perfect timing. He's like, "Do not go gently." And he like fails to say like the whole thing. She's like, "What? Wait, why? No."
I will say that reminds me of another thing that I absolutely love about this movie. And it is when Dr. Mann is given his big speech while he's about to take over the space station. And he just goes, he's like into it. And then he's like, "There is a moment." And then it's halfway through a sentence. It is awesome to me because I think movies often do the thing where they let them get through the entire thing. I like the idea that this guy, you can feel that Matt Damon's character believes he is going to get away with it. And like he really believes that. And he is ready to give this whole speech. And it just gets cut short.
Yeah, and the silence that they hit you with, the space silence is so great.
Oh, they utilize that in this movie so well.
It's really good. And last moment I want to shout out is Casey Affleck punching Topher Grace.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, totally.
And then Topher Grace is scared while Murph's up in her room. "He's coming! The fire's out!"
He gets a crowbar out.
And he's waiting. And Casey Affleck's like, "It was Daddy. He was Ghost."
I just said they would set it further into the future or some shit.
Yeah, and I don't know. This category that we do for every movie we do is like a little tough for a movie that's only 10 years old. It's like probably be the same, and it would be really fucking good still. I have that space travel.
Are you crying?
What? Yeah.
Okay.
It's all right.
That's fine with me. It's fine with me. I was just checking because it looks like you're crying.
Thanks. I am.
Okay, cool.
Because of humanity.
Nice.
I have space travel would have been co-opted by some sort of conservative extremists or Nazis, I guess, or something.
I feel like they're not curious about space.
Oh, Elon Musk has a space company. He loves it.
He's a conservative?
Yeah, now he is. Hot new conservative just dropped. Elon Musk.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know. I haven't been.
Christopher Nolan did go to SpaceX for some research in this movie.
Wow. He's got a little space from his ex, Grimes.
Christopher Nolan fucked Grimes?
Elon Musk dated her.
And put a baby on her.
Yeah.
He lays eggs on people.
I think, yeah.
He doesn't do it on the inside.
Yeah. Didn't he get botched in Turkey, right? They fucked up his cock?
Yeah.
He's got 2 babies with Grimes, I think. But I don't even know if I think those were made in like a tube or something.
No, it's just white South Africans, by the way, too. Yeah.
What?
They lay eggs on people.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But
turkey
they did
job.
botch his shit in Turkey.
They did, yeah. It's a motorcycle race to death.
But yeah, conservatives traditionally have been less like, I think they would like to defund NASA probably, right? Or do they fuck with that shit because it looks like they're dressed like military?
Well, and they used to also hate the Russians the most.
Right.
And I think they probably were big proponents of the space mission.
Yeah.
It's weird how things change over time. Now the conservatives like Russia and they drive electric cars. It's like, what the
I don't even know. We're about to do a flip, I think.
Yeah, Democrats are going to be like gun-toting Chaw, like, you guys got to work harder. And the conservatives are going to be like, shut up, I'm going to space. Give me a green juice.
We need to open an Erewhon on every corner.
And I'm like, what the fuck happened, man? Explaining it to my kids. Good luck.
First, I've got Denzel Washington as Coop, Natalie Portman as Brand, Priya Ferguson as young Murph, Morgan Freeman as Coop's dad, Donald, Leonardo DiCaprio as Dr. Mann, and Jason Momoa as Tars.
Brilliant job, but Donald doesn't play Coop's dad.
Coop's father-in-law.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah, for sure.
So technically, that opens things up
to not being a black guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
but
do you want to change that?
You know what? No.
Oh, so Denzel's a black king, married a black queen.
Yeah.
I like your style of filmmaking.
Thanks.
I put Bradley Cooper as Coop because his name's Coop.
Okay.
Paul Dano as Dr. Mann because while Matt Damon has a hateable face, no one I want to see die more in space than Paul Dano. I could voice the robots What's up, Slick? It's me. I don't know. I'm working on it. And then Naomi Ackie as Brand, I think would be good casting. She was really, really excellent in Mickey 17.
I haven't even seen the first 16. So I don't think
you are a fucking riot.
I don't think I'm going to be seeing it soon.
Yeah.
I have to watch 16 movies before I see them.
I want to be the robots!
I was thinking I could be the robots and maybe they talk like this instead.
Oh, that'd be bad.
Okay, you want me to try something else?
I want to be the robot! Try it like that.
Wow, man, I think I could be the robot.
Nah, that's still bad, yeah.
No?
These feel all too familiar of characters. I need you to tap into a new realm.
A new realm?
Yeah, to be robot.
Okay.
But human voice robot. Don't make it robotic.
Not robotic.
Not robotic. Human, but not you.
What's up? My name's Tars, and I'm a robot.
Why would he be musical?
I don't know. I was trying to think of something that I haven't done before.
All right, close your eyes. I'll show you how I do the robot. Welcome, Captain Cooper. I'm Tars. I used to be a Marine, and now I'm here to assist you on your travels and recruit you to my robot colony.
Sounds good, Tars. Let's turn that velocity button up to 37.
Do you want me to stroke you off while you drive too, Cooper? Jesus.
Parameter for promiscuity up to 95%.
Oh, yeah, Captain Cooper. I'm gonna fucking spit my robot oil all over this little fucking ship. Anne Hathaway, don't think your sweet ass is getting away from me. I'm a fucking robot. Rom, too. Bring that gristly beard over here and rub it all over my outlets.
Boom, just got top in space.
Hey, nice.
I want to get top in space. Yeah.
Soundtrack. Christopher Nolan, in classic weirdo fashion, gave Hans Zimmer, who did the score for this whole movie, either a 5-minute scene of the movie or just enough of the script for where Hans Zimmer would only understand that it was a father missing his daughter. Hans Zimmer didn't know about space. He didn't know about nothing. He just knew that this was a movie where daddy missed daughter, and he wrote the whole fucking score for it like that.
Wow, yeah, that makes more sense because it is so like, it's one of my favorite scores of all time.
Yeah, it's nostalgic. It has this iconic piano track in it.
It has a heart. It just feels very like slow and beautiful.
And as weird and as something that I would never think to do, to take that kind of context away from someone who's going to play such an impactful role in my film, it does work because it doesn't get like over spacified. You know what I mean? There's no, I don't know. It doesn't feel futuristic. It feels like grounded and it feels like very heartwarming at times and then very sad at other times.
There's really only like one part of the movie that has a jarring piece of the score. And I forget when it is, but there's some scene where he's like shooting through something like Cooper is, and it has like heavy guitar or something where I was kind of like, that's off a little bit. But the rest of it is like, it's a perfect score.
Yeah, it is really, really good. And then there's the classic every click that you hear on
Miller's Planet, the water planet.
Yeah, it like starts a time clicking sound in there, like a watch click tick, if you will. And each of those ticks is a day and some change back on Earth.
Yeah, every click representing that is successful in two ways to me because it has like this anxious kind of feeling while they're there, but it also is literally like you can keep time of like, this is how many days have gone by. There's so, and to shoot a scene that way.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's wild.
And they they broke down the mathematics of it and everything. Yeah, this planet doesn't exist, but like the care to the movie and the plot to do something that intentional is like.
Shout out to Hans Zimmer and Christopher Nolan, man.
And for the record, we did do this movie because I wanted to do Inception.
Right.
And then Riley told me there was some shit discourse, some shit courses, I like to call it, over on shit about this movie. So we did this. But I think we could just, roll right into Inception sooner or later.
Sure.
Because that's dope.
As much as I possibly can.
That's a weird way to put it.
I recommend it to people as much as I possibly can.
That's almost annoying.
If you haven't seen it,
go.
I'm gonna try to convince you to watch it tonight.
Give me the pitch. I haven't seen it. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty long.
You're gonna wish it was longer by the end, bucko.
Yeah, but I heard it like wasn't even that accurate.
It's pretty accurate, but it doesn't matter because the movie rocks.
I fucking hate Topher Grace.
Don't worry, he's not in it.
Hell yeah.
He's not in that movie. This movie.
Fuck yeah.
There's no such thing as him.
Dope. I guess I'll watch it then. Great to meet you, man.
Great to meet you too. Just so you know, my honesty parameters are set to 90%.
You're a fucking weirdo.
Topher Grace is 90% not in Interstellar.
All right, Slick. I'll talk to you later.
How did you know to say that?
That's what I call people. And
Slow
my
down,
daughter.
Turbo. You can't call me Slick yet. We just met.
You're the fucking weirdest guy I've ever met.
I'm not that weird.
Yeah.
Watch Interstellar and you'll understand me.
I'm going to pick up a case of beer and shoot some Black Tar's heroin up while I watch it.
Black Tar's heroin. How does he know to say all of this stuff? This movie is representative of my soul. I feel like by watching it, you'll get to know me.
Great. Maybe I will skip it.
No, see you later, cowboy.
I put sure. That's what I put. Depends, I guess. I don't know.
I can confirm, by the way.
It says sure.
Just sure, yeah.
Yep. Sure.
I gave it 5 stars. I had it at 4.5. I changed it to 5. I said I have decided not to care if it makes sense or not. Dudes are right. This is one of the best movies ever.
I agree. I have it at 4 stars, and I say it's heartbreaking and visually comeable. Because I do. I mean, visually, it is like it's comeable is the only words I can think of. It's so it's so fantastic the way they make it look, and it really only rivals like 2001 in terms of like space movies and how shit happens and the wormhole scene and the black hole scene and even the
black
fucking
hole scene. What you mean?
Almost done.
This movie makes me mean.
Okay.
Black hole scene. What you mean?
I even love the fucking library. And I know a lot of people hate that, but I love it. And I heard a little description of it that I really like. It's like they've allowed him into a physical space that's like a book, and you have the control to go to any point in the book, but it'll never change the outcome.
Yep.
And so he can zip around and, you know, see all the different parts of Murph's life, but you can never really change the outcome, which is dope.
And it's like a tessellation at the end, too.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. So, yeah, that's my review. This is a great fucking movie. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it. There's really spoilers or not. It's a great watch.
The only space movie I like more than this movie is Arrival. There are parts of it that are more visually stunning, but there's not as much. Like, this movie has way more in it. It travels to more places and stuff. But those are like the 2 best space movies. And I do think it's really funny that these came out like 1 year after the other, I think. And both of them play with the idea of like some external force in space and time being kind of like non-linear, like time travel and some sort of new concept.
Yeah.
It's like very weird that those 2 movies are right at the same time.
Christopher Nolan recruited Matthew McConaughey off the set of season 1 True Detectives, which was being done in 2013 too. And the theme of that whole season is Nietzsche's Time's a Flat Circle.
Yeah.
And so somehow that whole thing got pumped into the zeitgeist and made 2 of the greatest movies of our lifetime and the greatest season of television, as far as my opinion goes.
Yeah, so that was Interstellar, a much requested movie for this series. But if you have an idea for another one you want us to watch, please join our Patreon. Comment it on there. We announce the movies on Sunday or Monday. Usually we'll put the movie in there so you can watch it. You have a full week to check that movie out if you haven't seen it, or rewatch it, and then these will make more sense. And then just comment it on those posts under there. If you're like, hey, you guys should do this movie. We try to take like consensus ones and do them pretty often.
Yep.
Other than that, thanks so much for the support on Patreon and on YouTube membership. Thanks for watching How Did It Age? We're HIVEMIND Unlimited. And check it to do it with the thing.
We love doing this, guys, and we love movies, and we love you. So thank you, and good night.
You know that I tried to change my name. I tried to give myself the nickname RJ for 1 year in grade school. I like came in and like they're like names for the class, and I was like Riley, but I go by RJ, and everybody just right away was like, nope, he doesn't. He doesn't go by that. Nobody's gonna call him that. That's lame.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, I tried. I was like doing a rebrand. So I was like, I'm a new guy. I'm coming into 5th grade.
Yep.
You know,
Time to be hot.
time to be RJ.
Yeah, got to lose my virginity and get a job and start a family.
Yeah. I was applying for colleges and stuff. Yeah. I was like, trying on my new personality. So I was like, what's up, y'all? It's RJ now. Immediately, I was vetoed by the class.